So again, good to see everybody. And so we're going to start with understanding life's mirrors and about how really everything around us is a mirror of how we think. And we'll kind of get into the details of that. Before we do that, let's just kind of go back to what we were covering before 2 weeks ago. Hard to believe it was 2 weeks ago. But we were talking about truth and authenticity, and how a lot of times we will spend really vast amounts of energy kind of ignoring the truth, as opposed to just accepting the truth, which takes kind of like fractional amounts of energy. And then through that truth, we kind of find our authenticity about things. So, change in of itself is really about kind of accepting the truth of things and not ignoring them. And I think maybe another way to say it is that vast amounts of energy, we all do it, vast amounts of energy get put toward kind of the truth of it, because in the truth of it is really where change occurs, right? Once we realize, oh, wait a minute, this isn't what I thought, or this is morphed into this thing or this circumstance, now I got to deal with this. And instead of ignoring the change, we accept the change. And once we accept the change, then we put really fractional amounts of energy compared to the resistance into how do we move through it and make the change circumstance to our advantage. And, it's a little bit like negative energy and positive energy. Negative energy takes a lot more work than positive energy. It's easier to be happy than it is to be unhappy. So kind of look at it in terms like that. So mirrors are a really interesting subject. So the world you see through your eyes is a reflection of the world you created. So that talks, I think, a little bit back to what we're talking about with authenticity and truth, right? Accepting the fact that what we see in front of us, and here's kind of the hard part until you embrace it, is that everything around us is a mirror of our thinking. So every person, place, or thing around us is a mirror of what our thinking is. And it's pretty easy, I think, in this environment that we're in, maybe how we're socialized, to not take responsibility. I think sometimes even responsibility is almost like negative. But if you understand, though, that everything around you is a reflection of how you think and how you feel, well, now all of a sudden, that's kind of the perimeter code, right? And the perimeter is like the sequence that you need to break a code. And so once you understand that, then really everything around you can be recreated in a way or created in a way that you want. So it's really about how we think and about how we feel is really what's going to manifest in front of us. And there's a few expressions that I've grown fond of, I think especially kind of through the COVID experience, is that one of them is that you can never have enough of what you don't need. And so I chose junk food as a really good example, because I think we can all relate to it. It tastes really good going down. Maybe the after effect, not so much, but certainly while we're having it, it tastes pretty good. But it's very momentary, right? It's not like it's going to last forever. It's not like that good feeling lasts forever, right? But you can eat all that you want and still really not be full because you don't need it. And thoughts are the same way. So if you think about your thoughts manifesting things and maybe what you don't want is kind of no different than junk food. And so really being aware of your thinking and being aware of what you want, and understanding that everything around us, right? You do a 360, do a 360, look around you, do it at home or, do it in the office, whatever you want to do. Everything around us is basically really almost a hologram of how we think. But if we're not thinking the right thoughts, it's kind of no different than junk food. And you're never going to get enough of the wrong thoughts to put you in a place where you're happy. You're never going to get enough of that. So just remember this, right? You can never have enough of what you don't need. And fulfillment is really an inside out. So fulfillment comes from the inside out, not the outside in. And I think in a materialist way, that kind of almost going back to Descartes, if you're familiar with and the Enlightenment movement and all that, you know, it was in the materialism, and not materialism in a sense of maybe not materialistic, but materialism in that that it's things on the outside that are going to make us feel good on the inside. And it's just the opposite, because whatever we're manifesting around us, it comes from the inside out, okay? It doesn't come from the outside in. And so we have to be centered and grounded on the inside for us to get on the outside what we want. And so I always kind of phrase it like this, that happiness is an inside job. And once we're settled on, you know, what we want here, it'll manifest itself here, but it doesn't go the other way. Like if, you know, it's kind of funny, right? The kids, it's always interesting, I think, with the kids, right? With the young ones, where you buy them something, you know, we've all done it, right? Or at the grocery store and the kids are pitching a fit or whatever the case may be, and you buy them something just to keep them quiet. Think about how long it takes for them to, think about how long it takes or what period of time it keeps them quiet for. It is very fleeting and very momentary. All it does is just like, it just fixes that immediate problem. And after that, it has no long-term lasting effect, except if you keep doing it over and over again, that's what they're going to expect. And so that's what I mean about inside versus outside, right? Everything is about how we fulfill ourselves on the inside, and that will manifest things on the outside. But it is not the other way around. Things on the outside will not fulfill us on the inside. I think that's a really critical point. Okay. But the mirrors are the reflection of what we're doing on the inside, and all of our lives around us, you know, the people, the places, the things, all that are mirrors. So how to manifest your mirrors. First is to accept that all people, places, outcomes, and things around you are mirrors of your thinking. No one but you has created them. And there's a certain truth to that. Because I think it's easy to say, well, why'd that happen to me? Or, you know, I can't believe this is going on, or, you know, all those types of things. Forget all that. Forget it. It's all wasted energy, right? Just accept the fact that whatever's going on at some level, and maybe unconsciously in many cases, I think, that those are things, okay, through our thoughts. It's just easier to accept that. Because once you accept that, that's a truth, right? That's an authentic truth. Once you accept that, well, then you can sort out, okay, how do I change my thinking, and then and then the mirror changes. The second is connect the dots of a circumstance or circumstances that you have that you want to change or you want to have more of, to the thought that will create them. So that's a little bit of a mouthful. So, you know, as you're having experiences that you like, okay, what are the thoughts that brought that experience? Think about the feelings, but also what are the thoughts? Or if you're having an experience that maybe you prefer not to, well, what would be the thought, okay, that you would have that would either change that or bring you what you want? So you can really self-diagnose, and you can adjust on the fly. Really, the universe has no sense of time or no speed limit. So you can literally adjust on the fly when you're seeing things that you want or you don't want, right? Something I do want, okay, what's that corollary thought? I want more of that. I'm going to think more this way. Ooh, I'm not so sure I want any more of that. Okay, well, what's the thought maybe that got that? Right? You have to be a little self-diagnostic about it. What's the thoughts that got me here? I don't want any more of that. I'm going to replace that thought with this more positive thought. Third, so monitor your thoughts, that you're only having the thoughts that will bring you the outcomes that you want. So And we've talked about this before, so this will sound familiar. The average person has somewhere between 60 and 80,000 thoughts a day. 80% of them are the same. Now, you're not going to monitor 60,000 thoughts, right? But you don't need to. You only need to monitor the ones that you can catch. That's enough, right? And so make sure that you're thinking alignment, okay, with where you want, with the direction you want to go in. And remember that your thinking, okay, is the mirror. So if I'm thinking this thing, okay, if I'm thinking that, I want to have a great vacation, okay, and then that's the mirror you're going to have, right? Or thinking that, I want to start to eat well, okay. Well, you have that thinking, okay, then you will naturally your life will start to become a mirror that way, right? And you'll start to see things around you that will replicate what you're thinking about eating healthy, or whatever the case may be. Fourth, when you catch yourself not having thoughts that match your desired outcome, change them with a specific purpose. So again, monitoring your thoughts, change them immediately, okay? Don't, a lot of times things will happen, and life happens fast, right? Especially nowadays. And I'm amazed at how time is dilated, especially through this COVID thing, where this COVID event, we're a days a week, a weeks a month, a months a year. It's just crazy. But as you catch yourself, change them with a specific purpose, right? Be purposeful about what you want that thought to be, for what outcome you want to be. And then wash, rinse, repeat, because it's just a constant process. And once you get into it and you start understanding it, okay, and you start getting to a rhythm around it, because everything is rhythmic, and you start to get a rhythm around it, it just becomes second nature, right? And then your thought process automatically kind of takes over. It takes 2 to 3 weeks to develop a habit, to either build a habit or dissolve a habit. So, this takes a little bit of time, but don't worry about it, and a little bit of consistency, and you'll be able to, get into that pattern where you're kind of yielding the outcomes that you want. And one of my favorite people, and then I can shift this. There we go. Is a guy named Michael Dooley. And he has this great expression. It's pretty simple too. Thoughts become things. So that's really what we're talking about. The mirrors that we have, right? Everything around us is a mirror, and that mirror is created through our thoughts and our feelings and our desires, okay? Even the things, and here's the hard part, even the things that we would prefer not to have, we have to own them as things that at some level we've manifested, even unknowingly, okay? And if you ever get a chance, you can go to Dooley's site, and great stuff. I'll remember, thoughts become things. So great to be with everybody. Have a wonderful week.